Liver King is a very interesting case study. His sheer existence is essentially a manifestation of current culture and how to be successful within it. In a quote unquote good and proper, a morally clean and correct world, everybody knows that working hard and honestly will get you within the proper channels of rules and ethics will get you to the top. You just have to work harder than everybody else. But this is the real world in which we live. And the Liver King has very much gotten to the top, but is he so clean and proper? Is he not profiting from tricking people into buying his products? In a good and true world, how could a steroid-abusing snake oil salesman be a success? Well, because in the real world, which is all we have, these are the conditions that have been built as the basic type of requirements to be successful. So let's break down a few points. First, is he on steroids? Yes. It seems ridiculous to believe he would not be, based on his appearance alone. He's 45 years old with conditioning approaching stage ready for an IFBB Pro year-round. He has a very decent amount of muscle mass, especially his delts, chest and traps, and has a pretty big midsection. In comparison, he doesn't seem to have much lower body, which is odd considering his push for total wellness and strength, but on men at least, big thighs don't bring eyes. Really, visually, he looks more like a enhanced, if that means anything, top-end CrossFit athlete, which is a sport of endurance and some strength, but not really a sport that should, by normal rules, develop a physique like this. Most endurance and even a lot of strength athletes are much smaller than Liver King, and the CrossFit elites, even the ones at the highest levels of things in like marathon, Ironman, powerlifting, weightlifting, rowing, all kinds of sports with some similar characteristics, very few athletes in there even approach the CrossFit/Liver King style of physique. And we know from drug testing and general common sense that CrossFit is not a clean sport. None of these things in particular are specific laws that someone is abusing drugs, but together they paint a convincing picture that makes more sense than any alternative I can see. But in the current climate, being natural and looking ordinary has become a handicap in many ways. It's very hard to sell a character that doesn't have some outlandish or at least immediately interesting characteristic. Just look at all the top content on YouTube or Instagram. It's not long lectures on geography or floral climates. It's vitriolic, salacious content designed to sting the viewer's sense of excitement and encourage a rush of dopamine, and then it's gone, leaving them craving more of the same thing, just like an addiction. And that is exactly how Liver King is presented. It's not important whether you like him or hate him. The important factor is that seeing him provokes some spark of reaction that pushes the viewer to want to act, to learn more about him and perhaps his product, or to write about how terrible he is and generate more traffic to push him towards more people to do the same thing. Realistically, if everyone did want Liver King to go away and fade into obscurity, we all know that we just need to ignore him and deny him exposure, but we don't. There is some kind of parasitic, symbiotic benefit to each viewer reacting to him. Either they get to push themselves as a superior, morally higher being for all to see by chastising Liver King and his practices, or they get to follow his tenets in the hope of becoming a more healthy, more primal, and again, a better person. Either way, everybody wins as far as self-satisfaction is concerned. So really, it is just a case that social media and general online marketing has reached this peak state where there is no real way for a character or product to lose as long as they play all sides equally. And we see just how well that pans out for the Liver King and his business. And as for the efficacy of his actual products, like almost everything you are sold in the fitness realm, it's a big case of could be alright, mostly just the same junk recycled and repackaged, but if it makes you feel better, go ahead. He's broadly pushing the idea of a return to primal basics, whatever that really means. It's a theme that everybody loves to parrot and reformat, but realistically it's a bit silly. Yes, there may be some health benefits to eating and living less like a lot of people do today, but it's also that today is the result of all those primal years before it. One thing that a lot of people seem to want to believe is that the body is designed and perfectly adapted to a specific period of time, but it's not. The body is whatever the body is, and it exists in whichever period of time it exists within. That's about the extent of it. Yes, the previous periods of time have shaped which particular bodies have arrived in the current period, but to say that a specific period of living was the ideal, harmonious state for people to exist in really doesn't make much sense outside of a fantastical desire to escape the current life. Yes, being more active and eating real foods may be beneficial to living longer and being more productive, but that is not a better life, unless that is specifically what you want your life to be. It is just another version of life which provides benefits and drawbacks, depending on the values you view it through. But most people don't want to think about life like this, and it's much easier to just think that another person they see, or what they think they see of them, is a much more attractive life than their own. So perhaps by buying what that person is selling, they may gain access to a fraction of that life. Of course, in reality, they won't. They'll have their current life plus some raw meat or bone marrow to chew on, but they can at least pretend that by this intent to improve, they are in some way improving. Which is exactly what people and businesses like Liver King exploit so perfectly, to promise an alternative at a cost. Of course, actually allowing the customer to achieve that promised alternative exactly would be a pretty poor business, since fairly quickly the entire world would be equally business savvy and directly challenge the original salesman. So yes, Liver King is nothing more than a businessman doing business extremely well by taking advantage of the sheepishness of people, exaggerated by the current age of information-free flow. Should he be viewed negatively? Well, if you like. But you should probably ask yourself, is he actually negatively impacting your life personally? Are you buying his products? Are you wasting your own time by boosting his relevance just like this video? Well then, you've just fallen into the funnel and have only yourself to blame. If you really want out, then take the blue pill and completely ignore him. Leave the mob to dribble at the gates while you posture around and parade about the ramparts with your moral superiority. But that's it. A little algorithm hitching, a little bit of discussion. If you liked it or disliked it, let me know in the comments, and subscribe if you want more. I'd like to branch out a little from strictly arm wrestling as a subject, because the purpose of this channel was to funnel information into arm wrestling from all over, rather than just regurgitating the same content over and over and salivating over the same two athletes for views. But that's basically what you have to do on YouTube to get by, so some compromises have to be made. And I'll see you next time.